Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Was the Golden Wolf of Konoha Part 3. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
The following day, Team Chimera reached Tazuna's house without any issues. Enko pouted all the way back to Wave as a result of their lengthy argument about the best way to defeat Gato, which included weighing the pros and cons of various tactics like using explosive tags and calling forth their respective boss summons to level the island to the ocean while Gato and the mercenaries were still on it. Naruto decided that the latter was too drastic even for their tastes. Team Chimera made the decision to go straight to Tazuna's place and return to their camp for a lengthy afternoon nap because they were too exhausted from the lack of sleep brought on by their recon mission. They witnessed Kakashi, Tazuna, Tsunami, and Inari observing the genins of Team 7 engage in a one-on-one duel at the forest's edge. Anko and Naruto approached the four people who were watching and said, "Oi Kakashi, we're back." With an eye smile, Kakashi said, "Welcome back, Anko. How did the mission go?" to his teammate. With a sly smile that her apprentice mirrored, Anko gave him a victory sign and said, "Mission accomplished. We easily infiltrated Gato's base in one of the islands outside Wave. We discovered their plans for the coming week and even emptied their armory." Kakashi simply looked at the snake mistress incredulously. "You did what?" he cried incredulously. She gave a shrug. "Why not? It was there for easy pickings, so I just helped myself. It's not like Gato will miss anything once we're done with him," she replied defensively. Kakashi opened her mouth to speak, but Naruto decided to stand up for her sensei instead. "She's right, Kakashi-sensei. Besides, without these weapons, Gato will think twice attacking Wave without the weapons. I think we all know that isn't stupid to throw his army at us without equipping them first." He grinned as he thought about the missing nins. There's still Zabuza and Haku to worry about though. "Haku?" inquired a bewildered Kakashi. Naruto looked curiously at the sparring Sakura and Sai and explained, "Oh. You weren't there so you didn't know. Haku is the name of Zabuza's ice-wielding apprentice. Anko-sensei's snakes found them inside Gato's hideout recuperating from our battle. Seems like Haku had medic nin training and informed Zabuza that he will be battle-ready in a week's time." Kakashi gave nod. "Good. We'll have a debriefing later after dinner so we can make plans for the coming battle. Zabuza won't take his defeat lying down so we can expect both of them to attack when the week is out." Before turning to face Kakashi, Anko grimaced as she witnessed Sai punch Sakura in the stomach with a chakra-enhanced blow. "Oh, before I forget. It seems that Gato is planning to double-cross Zabuza once Tazuna is disposed of. We might be able to take advantage of that and swing the Demon of the Mist to our side or put them out of the battle entirely." Kakashi frowned and said, "Any idea how you plan to do that?" He started to perspire at Anko and Naruto's casual attitude toward the impending battle, as they both simply shrugged in the negative. Naruto, who was watching Sakura throw a barrage of punches at Sai, who was avoiding them with ease and appeared bored, said, "Nay, Kakashi-sensei. What are they doing?" As he watched the sparring pair, he also noticed Sasuke leaning on a tree and appearing bored. Kakashi smiled at him and then explained, "They already mastered the tree climbing exercise, so I'm having them apply their limited chakra control in a battle scenario, fighting while channeling chakra to their muscles and bones, as well as to their punches and kicks to increase attacking and defensive power." With great interest in the exercise, Naruto nodded. Anko gave him a glare when he said aloud, "I wonder if I can do the same thing?" Angry that the blonde was unaware of it, she yelled, "Shut up, Gaki. You don't do that since you've been doing that since you finished your training." Naruto looked at her in surprise. "Really? I didn't know that." Anko gave him a fierce look. Itching to beat the blonde on the head with a chakra-enhanced fist, she said, "Why don't you check your chakra now? I think you've been going at it on autopilot because of Tsunade's chakra control training program." With a simple shrug, the blonde werewolf shut his eyes and focused on his chakra. He was already accustomed to the feeling, so finding his chakra didn't take him long. He observed that his body's chakra was flowing through the coils and tenketsus with ease. As he delved deeper into the sensation, he became aware that his muscles and bones were receiving tiny amounts of chakra, which further enhanced his powers. Startled by the realization, he made the decision to speed up the flow. Everyone saw it, even though he didn't. The chakra of the blonde werewolf erupted, appearing to cascade like water throughout his body. A light wind blew through the clearing, causing the grass beneath him to sway as though it were dancing to an unseen melody. When the blonde opened his eyes and allowed the chakra flow to return to normal, it vanished as quickly as it had appeared. His voice conveyed his surprise at the finding. It's amazing. Why didn't I notice it before? Anko shrugged without expressing any admiration for the blonde's impressive chakra display. You didn't, but I certainly did. That was the result of your training, Gaki. Since you've been doing the chakra control every day for a month, you've been unconsciously channeling them throughout your body without you knowing about it. Any normal shinobi doing that would be tired in a few hours, but with the amount of chakra you have, you've been doing it every day without feeling a slight drain since your reserves replenish just as quick, she said as she watched the spar. Kakashi was shocked by what he saw, but even more shocked when he heard Anko tell the blonde about it. He cried incredulously, "What in the world did you train him in, Anko?" As she plopped down on the grass and gazed at the sparring genins, who were too far away to notice Naruto's display, she explained. Tsunade-sama gave the Gaki a set of chakra control exercises different from the ones mandated in our program. It seems the kid has too much chakra for him to control, so Tsunade-sama made up a slew of new chakra control exercises just for him. When she saw Sakura's awkward academy taijutsu, she gave a frustrated grunt and pondered what Kakashi had been teaching his team. Kakashi turned and looked questioningly at Naruto. When Naruto noticed, he made the decision to clarify. My chakra control exercise is a bit different, Kakashi-sensei. Tsunade-ba-san combined the leaf-sticking and tree-walking exercise to a new application for my use. It is called boulder walking, Naruto told the one-eyed Junin. He shivered as he recalled Anko throwing shurikens, kunais, and jutsus at him while evading with boulders stuck to his feet. I use large, dense boulders as stilts, sticking them to my feet using chakra and walk around with them every day. From the notes she included in the scroll, I continuously channel chakra to the soles of my feet to get the boulders to stick while channeling chakra to my muscles to strengthen them so I can lift the boulders and walk around with them. Sometimes I even spar with Anko-sensei with those on. I also modified it by carrying boulders around and sticking it to my hands with chakra as well. For different reasons, Kakashi and Anko both gave him a crazy look. You did what? I didn't know you added to the exercise, Anko said in a voice that was half question and half shout. Naruto simply replied, it was boring walking around with boulders to help control my chakra and improve my lower body strength. I just gave myself a full workout by carrying rocks as well to improve my overall strength. Kakashi was staring at the blonde while Anko simply shook her head. Naruto's bloodline made him a formidable force already, so why would he need to undergo a training program that sounded like hell? It was both terrifying and incredible. He simply gave the blonde a stupid nod before returning his attention to his team. He saw Sai breathing heavily, obviously exhausted from using too much chakra with his attacks, and Sakura sprawled on the ground, panting from exhaustion. Nice job, you two. Sakura, you take a rest. Sai, you get 10 minutes break, then you're going to spar with Sasuke. Sakura, I want you to observe how the two fights, then it's your turn to spar with Sasuke. He yelled out his directions. The only female squealed at the opportunity to spar with her crush, while the males grunted. While Anko and Naruto stared at her incredulously and thought of fangirls, she received a sweat drop from everyone. Everyone was too preoccupied with their own thoughts to talk during dinner that evening. In the upcoming battle, Kakashi and Anko were busy devising a strategy to oppose Gato and attempt to persuade the Demon of the Mist and his apprentice to support them or remain neutral. As usual, Tazuna was considering how to expedite the bridge's construction, primarily how to approach the blonde about lending him those helpful clones. As he cheered for them, he was daydreaming, or, in this case, night dreaming, of hundreds of Narutos running around the bridge and doing all the necessary work. He drooled with anticipation at the thought. Tsunami, however, was considering what to serve for breakfast the following day. She was considering some recipes to try since she still had some of the leftover deer meat that Naruto brought over. Team 7 was a jumble of ideas as usual. Sai was considering how he could learn more about the blonde's skills so he could inform Danzo. He knew that Danzo had already received his discoveries, so he sent an ink hawk with them to his master. As usual, Sakura was planning how to get a date with her beloved Sasuke, forgetting that she should focus on strengthening herself through training before Zabuza visited them. As usual, Sasuke was brooding. Unbeknownst to them, he had observed the blonde's power display during Sai and Sakura's fight earlier and had been jealous of how easily the blonde was projecting power. He was annoyed that Naruto was better than him and is thinking of ways to get more power, even if it means robbing the blonde. However, Kakashi's explanation of chakra control and his recent discovery of the chakra channeled to his muscles occupied Naruto's thoughts. Earlier, as Team 7 debated the different uses of the technique, he was attacking Kakashi with questions. Although Tsunade's super strength appears to have resulted from the exercise, her increased control allowed her to increase her normal strength by a factor of 100. Kakashi claims that Tsunade's power punches and kicks are the result of her skillfully releasing chakra in brief bursts, which increases their overall power. Her muscles' careful application of chakra further amplifies their potency. The youngest member of the group chose to speak up, interrupting everyone from their thoughts. Inari said angrily, "Why are you doing this? Didn't you know that you're all going to die?" Everyone looked at the boy, staring at him with confusion and incredulity. Sasuke, not pleased that the loudmouthed brat had interrupted his thoughts, asked, "What are you talking about, kid?" With a look of disgust and rage, Inari gave him a glare. "You're all going to die. Nothing can stop Gato. He is too strong. He will kill you easily." Sasuke simply grunted and returned his food, but not before offering his opinion. "Shut up, brat. You don't know what you're saying. We're shinobis. Gato is only a thug that will fall by our hands," he said with an authoritative tone. Before leaving the table to go to his second-floor room, the boy gave him a fierce look. Naruto followed the boy's vanishing figure with his gaze before turning to face a sighing, dejected Tsunami. Where did that came from? Tazuna let out a sigh. Gato arrived at Wave a year ago, and Inari's stepfather, Kaiza, organized a rebellion to try to get rid of him. Ultimately, the rebellion was put down with ease using all of the thugs Gato had at his disposal, and he was executed in front of everyone in a public execution. Of course, Inari witnessed everything. He concluded with a sigh, a little dejected at the transformation in his grandson. Since that day, Inari has gone from being a happy boy to an angry child who lost all hope in the world. Following the revelation, there was silence, and nobody noticed Naruto's understanding glance at the stairs. When Naruto discovered Inari sitting on a ledge outside his bedroom window, everyone had already fallen asleep. He couldn't stop thinking about the boy's predicament while he was awake at the camp all night. Although he never lost a family member because he never had one in the first place, the abuse he endured from the villagers was enough to drive anyone with a weak will to consider suicide. In addition, he immediately realized that if he ever lost the people he had grown to love, such as his Hokage Jiji, the Tuchi family, Saji Jiji, Tsunade Ba-san, Shizune Nichan, Iruka Sensei, Anko Sensei, and Ero Senin, he would suffer the same agony as the boy. Unnoticed, he approached the ledge and halted behind the child. "Hey kid, can I join you?" When Inari heard the voice behind him, he was startled and nearly fell off the ledge before he caught himself. He turned quickly to see Naruto grinning as he stood behind him. "What do you want?" Inari glared at Naruto and demanded. With a shrug, Naruto sat next to the frowning child and gazed up at the sky. As he looked at the stars, Naruto thought, "It's a beautiful night tonight, isn't it?" With a hint of venom in his voice, the boy demanded once more, "What are you doing here and what do you want?" With a sigh, Naruto turned to face the boy. "Nothing much. I can't sleep so I went out to have a walk around to check if the perimeter is safe, then I saw you so I decided to join." Inari turned away from the blonde and returned to his brooding, saying ungraciously, "Well, you're not welcome here so go back to wherever it is you're supposed to go to." He continued to look at the stars, thinking about his beloved people back in Konoha, ignoring the boy's dismissal. The two of them enjoyed silence, but the younger one didn't bother to say it aloud. He chose to start a conversation by saying, "I'm sorry to hear about Kaiza." When Inari heard his stepfather's name, he turned against him. He glared at the blonde with an angry frown. "What do you care? You don't know him." Naruto gave a nod of agreement. He clarified, saying, "Yes, I don't know him but I know about him." With a frown growing at the blonde's insolence, Inari said, "What do you mean? Why don't you just mind your own business and leave? You're not needed here anyway." "I said I know about him. I don't know Kaiza personally but I know of people that are like him. Your grandfather told us about your stepfather fighting Gato and was killed in front of you a year ago. I know why he did it, which is the reason why I said I know about him," he explained to the kid as he continued to look at the stars. He chose to go on since he was not receiving any response. "Let me tell you a story, Inari. A few years ago, my village, Konoha, was attacked by a gigantic beast called the Kyuubi no Kitsune. This beast was the most powerful of the 9 bijus and said to have enough power to cause earthquakes and tsunamis with just a swing of its tail. Everyone in the village who were powerful ninjas in their own right tried to fight the beast but nothing they do could stop it. A lot of people died that day, leaving their families behind. However, the leader of the village, the Yondaime Hokage, tried fighting the beast. Despite being the most powerful shinobi during that time, Nothing he could do made a dent on the Kyuubi, so he resorted to a powerful technique that demanded his life as a sacrifice. In the end, the Yondaime Hokage died, sealing the fox and his powers into a child, thus protecting the village he loved. After hearing the story, he turned to face Inari, who was observing him intently and seemed to have forgotten his brooding. Naruto smiled to himself, remembering that a child is a child. He flicked his finger at the boy's forehead, causing him to flinch in frustration. "You see, kid, that is why I said I know about your stepdad. He is like the Yondaime. He fought and died to protect the people who were precious to him. That's what made him strong and powerful enough to face death with a smile on his face. Kaiza sacrificed his life to save you, your mother, your grandfather, and everyone in Wave. Your grandfather is now taking up his mantle to help construct the bridge that will save the village from Gato. That is why he braved going to Konoha on his own despite the possibilities bandits killing him along the way to hire us to help your family out. That is why we are here, to help your grandfather with his goal for Wave Country. It was all for his precious people, you and everyone else in Wave." After hearing the story and Naruto's explanation, Inari sniffed and a single tear trickled down his cheek as he took in everything the blonde had to say. "But, he will die, everyone will die, Gato is too strong, it's all pointless," he was whispering. Naruto let out a sigh. "That may be true, kid, but keep in mind that there are people who are stronger than Gato. Didn't you know why me and my sensei was out for the whole day yesterday?" he asked. Inari gave him a confused look and raised his eyebrows. "We were out on the outlying islands looking for Gato. We found him easily and infiltrated his base of operations and discovered some stuff to help us bring him down. All he has is money. He hired a lot of thugs, granted, there's a lot of them, but a single shinobi can easily level down a dozen of them with a single technique. That is all Gato has. Money and thugs with no training whatsoever. We can easily bring him down. With complete trust." Inari's eyes began to well up with more tears. Naruto put a finger to the boy's lips to cut off his tirade. But, he said. He concluded with a smile that demonstrated the sincerity of his words. "No buts. I promise you, Inari. We will do everything we can to bring Gato down, and there is nothing he can do to stop it. Sure, we might get wounded along the way, but it's part of a shinobi's life, but we will get the job done, so no worries." Both of them fell silent as Inari nodded and looked up at the stars. With a slight smile on his face, Inari looked up at Naruto and said, "Thank you, Naruto ni-san." The boy groaned in frustration as Naruto grinned back at him and rumpled his hair. To the bewilderment of the boy, he smiled and produced a sealing scroll. A plate of leftover dinner was revealed when he directed a small amount of chakra toward the seal, causing a small amount of smoke to puff out. With a wolfish grin, he said, "Here, kid. You didn't eat a lot earlier, so eat up. A kid like you needs to eat or you stay like a squirt forever." With a scowl, Inari accepted the food with gratitude. He made a clear reference to the blonde's height when he said, "I'm not a squirt. You're just huge." Naruto simply said, grinning smugly at him. The young boy frowns again as he says, "I rest my case." As Inari finished his meal, they both fell into utter silence. While Naruto chuckled quietly and remained silent, he burped and smiled sheepishly. For the first time since his stepfather's passing, Inari felt joy as he held the empty plate in his lap. He turned to face Naruto, whom he already regarded as a big brother. "Naruto ni. Something about your story seems off," he said, his face bewildered. The inquisitive boy inquired. "Well, you told me that the Kyuubi was sealed in a child, so what happened to him or her?" Naruto let out a sigh. After he told the tale of Kyuubi and the Yondaime, he knew the child would ask the question. He was prepared to take the chance in order to restore the Inari that Tsunami and Tazuna were familiar with. Well, to continue with the story. The child grew up in Konoha, but not the way you would think. Despite being turned into a prison for the Kyuubi, quite a lot of the villagers didn't bother to learn the extent of the Yondaime's technique, thinking that the boy is somehow the Kyuubi and hate the child. It wasn't a good life for the kid, but he survived amidst the hateful glares of the villagers. Still, he grew up to be happy to become a shinobi to protect his precious people in Konoha. There's only a few of them, but he loved them anyway, he clarified. As Naruto concluded his story, Inari noticed the unadulterated feelings of grief and resolve in his eyes. For the boy, something clicked instantly. He said with assurance, "You're that child, aren't you?" Naruto let out another sigh before turning to face the boy and meeting his eyes directly. "Yes, I am the child used by the Yondaime to seal the Kyuubi into. People who have a biju inside them are called Jinchuriki." After nodding, The boy turned back to face the stars, and they both fell silent once more. Inari quickly got up from his perch, walked back toward his room's window, and was ready to enter, but not before saying something that gave Naruto a comforting feeling. After saying, "You know Naruto ni. You're not the Kyuubi," he went straight to his room and went to bed. Naruto was taken aback by Inari's admission that he was not the Kyuubi because he had assumed the boy would fear or despise him for keeping the fox in check. Rather, the boy welcomed him fearlessly. His heart warmed as a result, and a single tear trickled from his eyes and down his cheek. "Thank you, Inari," he muttered. The two were unaware that Kakashi was listening to the conversation from beneath the ledge. Hearing that Inari welcomed Naruto in spite of his burden gave him hope. He was utterly astounded by how a child who was raised in hatred could so effortlessly dispel fear and hatred from the hearts of others and bring out their best traits. As he gazed at a particularly bright star that seemed to be winking at him, Kakashi thought, "You would have been proud of him, sensei. He grew up to be a respectable and powerful shinobi just like you did." Despite staying up late, Naruto was content and rested when he woke up the following morning. He sighed with pleasure at being accepted in spite of his burden, recalling his talk with Inari. After stretching, he got out of his cot and walked out of the tent. He chose to hunt once more in order to restock their food supplies after realizing he was early. In addition to being enjoyable, hunting usually gets the blood flowing in the right direction for the day. When he discovered a fat boar in the forest, he killed it right away with a kunai throw, proving that his hunting was successful. After bringing his kill to the river, he removed its tough skin and its internal organs. Before returning to camp, he chose to wash the blood and boar odor from his body with a quick dip in the chilly river because he was a little bloody from the act. He brought the remainder of the meat to camp and used the herbs one of his clones gathered from the forest to prepare a filling stew after giving Tsunami the majority, which he accepted with gratitude. His sensei was swiftly awakened by the aroma of the food and sat down in front of him, offering him an empty bowl to fill. He filled his sensei's bowl with a generous amount of the stew, laughing at her immature behavior, before she eagerly devoured the delectable breakfast. He ate his fill after filling his own bowl. Anko told Naruto to practice with his sword after breakfast because he needed to become proficient in the katas that Yugo had taught him before they left the village for the mission. That made Naruto shudder because Yugo was just as cruel as Anko when it came to kenjutsu. He made a mental commitment to get better so that he wouldn't be cut to pieces by a disgruntled swordswoman. In order to expedite the construction, he made a dozen clones to accompany Anko and Tazuna before departing. Naruto ventured far into the forest before discovering a sizable clearing with lots of room for practice. He took his zanbato off his back and plunged it on the ground, then took off his shirt to avoid getting it soiled from his training, nodding at his discovery. To warm up, he first ran 20 laps around the clearing before performing push-ups and sit-ups. After finishing, he made 50 clones and gave them instructions to locate another clearing so they could practice controlling their chakras. He wanted to see if he could get to Tsunade's level. Even though it was ambitious, he was committed to trying. To commit everything to muscle memory, he first moved to the spot where his sword was impaled on the ground, picked it up, and marveled at its craftsmanship for a few seconds before practicing the katas Yugo had taught him. He began with 100 overhead slashes, 100 horizontal swings, and side slashes in between. After finishing, he began the dance. During the Nidaime Hokage's reign, a Konoha swordsmaster developed the kenjutsu style known as the Dance of the Crescent Moon. It was obviously designed for a katana because of the elegant motions that were impossible to imitate with a heavy zanbato, save for his blade, which Saji had secured with gravity seals. He mastered the fundamental katas, which include side steps, lunges, side parries, and random slashes. The style relies on speed and agility, with little use of force, to strike key areas for a swift kill. With his hands, blade, and feet moving in a complex dance of death, he accelerated as he changed forms. His objective was to discover his rhythm, which Yugo had recommended to smooth things out, but he had not yet done so. He was exhausted and having trouble breathing after practicing for 3 hours. In contrast to his typical training, kenjutsu demands complete attention to movement, which means you must exert twice as much effort as you would in a taijutsu spar. Ripples of sweat were streaming down his body, and he was exhausted. After deciding to end the day, he took a quick nap on the ground before beginning anew. Haku frowned. He searched the island where Gado's base was situated for medicinal herbs for his master, but it appears that he used up all of the possible supplies, so he made the decision to travel inland in order to obtain enough of them to complete Zabuza's treatment. With careful application of Shunshin and her ice mirrors, he quickly reached one of Wave Country's wooded locations. Although it was exhausting, he had no intention of engaging in combat today, and in the event of an emergency, he could always exert a little more chakra to get out of his mirrors and into safety. Upon arriving at the clearing, he noticed something that caused one of his fingers to twitch. The Golden Wolf of Konoha was sleeping in the center of the clearing, where a profusion of medicinal herbs was in full bloom. He was considering his options when his snores reached his ears. Since he was unprepared for an attack, he could easily kill him, but he cursed inwardly for leaving his valuable senbons back at the hideout. He could use his ice techniques, but with the right training, the sharp increase in chakra might wake him up. Additionally, given his skills and abilities from his fight with Zabuza's clones, his methods might not have an impact on the blonde shinobi. The area's scarcity of water should also be taken into account. His ability to extract water from the air and simultaneously turn it into ice was not yet fully under his control. He bemoaned his inexperience and promised to make sure he didn't make the same mistake again. Taking a deep breath and calming his features, he decided to be safe and then emerged from the cover of the forest in the direction of the sleeping Nin. He made a special effort to pass for a civilian, so he didn't bother to cover his footsteps. However, in order to keep his cover intact, he did cover his chakra. Despite how terrible it was for him, he was quietly thanking Zabuza for the covert training she had to endure. Reaching to his side, he gazed down at the sleeping figure. His face was devoid of baby fat and had 3 whisker marks on each cheek, giving him an almost angular, dare he say it, wolf-like appearance. His blonde hair was like the sun. He looked down and saw muscles like those of an athlete, well developed. It's built for speed and isn't heavy enough to project strength when needed. He knelt next to him, set the basket down, and then slowly extended his hand to the blonde's neck. It was simple. After a single snap, he's dead. After a moment of hesitation, he changed course and shook the blonde who was sleeping awake by placing a hand on his shoulder. When Naruto felt someone jolt him out of his slumber, he moaned. He didn't get enough sleep for his body to heal, as evidenced by his still aching muscles. He opened his eyes to find a teenage boy with brown eyes and dark hair staring at him worriedly. With a worried look on her face, the teenager said, "You should not sleep out here. You're going to catch a cold." Naruto thought it was beautiful. When he heard some of his joints pop back into place, he sighed with satisfaction and sat up right away to stretch. He turned to face the newcomer and saw that the girl's features showed a hint of awe as she looked up at him. She had a basket by her side with some herbs, apparently medicinal herbs, and was dressed in a light pink, sleeveless kimono. He grinned. "No need to worry, miss. I'm used to sleeping outdoors and I don't usually get sick from doing so," replied Naruto. She had a pleasant smile, he noticed. She said in a bewildered tone, "That's good to hear. So what are you doing here? And from your looks, are you a shinobi?" Naruto gave a nod. He offered to shake hands and introduced himself, saying, "Yep. I'm from Konoha, sent here to guard Tazuna the bridge builder. I'm Naruto, by the way." She shook the hand after accepting it. She glanced at the sword next to Naruto and said, "Nice to meet you, Naruto-san. My name is Haku. I haven't seen many shinobis since they don't often come through Wave Country." She looked at the sword with curiosity and a faint sense of admiration for its craftsmanship. And she exclaimed in surprise, "My, that is quite big sword you have. Looks heavy too." With a laugh, Naruto gazed lovingly at his blade. "Yeah, it is a gift from my employer when I graduated from the academy a few months back. I was actually practicing with it before falling asleep," he clarified. With excitement, she exclaimed, "That's great. From what I can see, you're really strong." He laughed quietly, a little taken aback by the praise. He blushed a little and said, "Nah, I'm not that strong. Sure, I'm strong, but there are sure to be others out there that are stronger than me." He never grew accustomed to receiving praise. Haku gave a nod. "Do you by chance have any precious people?" he asked, observing Naruto with a contemplative expression on her face. The question caused Naruto to tilt his head sideways in perplexity, but he still responded. He smiled as he thought about the people he loved back home and said, "Yep, I got a lot of precious people back in Konoha and I cherish them deeply." She stated resolutely, "That's good. I believe that we become stronger if we fight for someone precious to us." Naruto grinned broadly at her. "You're right. I fight to protect those I love. That's why I train every day to become stronger for them." When Haku nodded in agreement, he said, "Then you will definitely become stronger." The grasses clung to her dress as she got up and brushed them off. She glanced at him as she picked up her basket. "Nice to meet you, Naruto-san, but I have to get going now. I need to pick up some medical herbs since I have my own precious person back home who is sick and needs them right away." "Why don't I help you with that? I need to rest a bit before I go back to training anyway, so I have time to lend a hand," he said. Haku said appreciatively, "Sure, that would be most appreciated." While searching the forest for herbs that Haku could use to make her medicines, Naruto and Haku enjoyed sharing stories. While Haku listened intently and occasionally asked questions that the blonde gladly answered, Naruto told her stories about his job and life in Konoha. After spending an hour making sure Haku was satisfied, they decided to part ways, promising to meet again in the same clearing if time permits, as Naruto had informed her that he would be training there going forward. With a gentle smile, Haku gestured to the basket full of herbs she was carrying and said, "Thank you again for your help, Naruto-san. I couldn't have gotten this much without your assistance." With a serious expression on his face, Naruto cautioned, "No worries, Haku. Just make sure that you take care now. The forest is no place for a girl to walk around in, especially with Gato and his thugs prowling the countryside." With Naruto's eyes following her the entire time, she nodded and began to leave the clearing. She turned her head slightly to give Naruto a playful glance before she reached the edge. Haku said, "By the way, I'm a boy." Then, he vanished into the forest's shadows, leaving a spluttering werewolf in his wake. As he made his way along the forest's uneven path, Haku's thoughts were divided. He was reconsidering his decision to fight, or perhaps kill, Naruto after their pleasant afternoon together. He was kind, considerate, and charming, completely different from the kind of shinobi that most closely resembles him. During their conversation, he also spent time analyzing the boy. No, a man. He was strong, and he knew from his limited senses that Naruto's chakra was greater than both his and Zabuza's combined. He was aware that the blonde was more powerful than Zabuza, but his master's combat background readily overshadowed that. He was sure that when the time came, Zabuza could defeat Naruto. The two Junins in the group are his only concerns. He flashed through a chain of hand seals, which causes the moisture in the air to gradually coalesce into a full-body mirror, scowling at what he had discovered. The mirror broke and fell to the ground, leaving only a few drops of water on the grass below, as he stepped through and vanished. A set of blue eyes was watching him from the tree above, but he was blind to it. Naruto scowled at the realization after controlling his spluttering. When he detected Zabuza's scent, he was already aware that Haku was his apprentice, but he was unaware that the apprentice was a boy. What a gorgeous boy. Oh, how feminine you look. He shook his head, put on his discarded clothes right away, laid his Zanbato on his back, and leapt up on the trees to follow him. He took extra care to conceal his chakra and presence, and his scent allowed him to easily catch up to Zabuza's apprentice. As he made his way through the forest's uneven path, he caught sight of Haku's frown. He saw how, in complete contrast to his behavior in the clearing, he moved with the grace of a predator, demonstrating that he had received good training in the arts. When Haku stopped in the middle of the path, he leapt up to one of the higher branches right away. When Zabuza's apprentice performed a series of one-handed seals that caused the nearby water to combine into a mirror, he became intrigued. At that, he scowled. One-handed seals are only performed by skilled shinobi, and those who possess a bloodline are typically able to perform them. Haku's abilities appear to be more complex than first meets the eye. He was startled when Haku passed through the mirror, creating a tiny ripple before quickly vanishing, shattering the mirror into fragments. Despite their brief encounter back in the clearing, he truly liked Haku as a friend, so he frowned at having to battle the dark-haired nin. Even though he was certain that he would be able to defend himself because of Enko's frequent surprise attacks during their month-long training, he was shocked that Haku didn't kill him while he was asleep. He briefly flared his chakra after losing the ability to sense Haku before jumping back to base to report the encounter and, ideally, devise a strategy to prevent fighting him in the future. Naruto instantly let go of his chakra and departed his present perch in full speed toward Tezuna's house after Haku left the clearing. He arrived quickly and discovered Enko relaxing in the garden while Kakashi watched Team 7 practice once more. Without bothering to be formal, Naruto reported, "Yo, Enko-sensei. You wouldn't believe what happened to me back in the forest while I was training." After giving her student a questioning glance, Enko eventually broke into a perverted smile. With joy, Enko said, "You got laid, didn't you?" Her Naru-chan's eventual transformation into a man filled her with pride. The blonde werewolf failed because of this. Uncertain whether to flee or attempt to beat his sensei in front of everyone, a flustered Naruto exclaimed, "Wait, what?" She wiped a phantom tear from her cheeks and said, "You got so excited, so I guessed that you finally got laid. I can't believe that you're no longer a virgin. I'm so proud of you, Naru-chan. You are, now, a man." The suggestion caused Naruto to flush beet red. Naruto angrily exclaimed, his face flushed, "Shut up, sensei. I didn't get laid. I'm a virgin werewolf. Thank you very much. His sensei is to blame for this humiliation. She whispered to herself, damn. I guess I lost the bet after all. However, the Golden Wolf of Konoha heard her. Naruto exclaimed, almost hysterically, bet? What bet? Now, what is his sensei discussing? Don't mind it, Gaki. What's the news that got you so worked up? Enko approached, avoiding her bet's slip. Disclosing to the blonde that there were wagers on when the attractive werewolf would literally lose his virginity wouldn't help her much. To relax, Naruto inhaled deeply. He told his sensei, I met Haku, Zabuza's apprentice. You met Haku? How? Enko asked, half asking, half yelling. This time, what on earth did her apprentice do? He wandered into my training ground and woke me up from my nap. From the looks of it, he came into Wave acting like a civilian looking for some medical herbs to use in Zabuza's treatment. Naruto explained as he sat down next to his sensei and watched Team 7's training program, or what appeared to be a training program, with curiosity, contrasting it with his own. Compared to what he typically used for training, it felt like they were doing warm-ups. In any case, why was Kakashi training them? Collaboration. Why didn't you bring her in? Inquired Anko. She was aware that if necessary, Naruto could easily render Zabuza's apprentice unconscious, so she was perplexed by her apprentice's inaction and wondered why she wasn't doing it. Anko was shocked to hear that, so Naruto corrected him, saying, for the record, Haku is a Hinata-shi. I could have but didn't. It was the perfect time to gather information and I don't want to give our advantage away. After all, I was able to set up a meeting with him back in the same clearing, that is if he accepts of course. Anko rubbed her chin thoughtfully and said, good, maybe we can strike up a deal with Zabuza through his apprentice. Even though she was confident in her skills, facing Zabuza should only be done as a last resort. Despite her sadistic and battle-hungry tendencies, she never considered suicide. That's not the only thing I discovered from our conversation. It seems Haku is a pacifist who looks up to Zabuza like a father. He has the skills, but from what I gathered from our conversation, he doesn't like to hurt people unless the occasion demands it. He didn't say anything in that regard, but from the indirect answer he gave me during our conversation states that as a fact. From the looks of things, they are in need of money for something, which is the reason why Zabuza is currently pawning off his skills to Gato for a pretty penny. The snake Junin wanted to devise a practical strategy to overthrow the despot with minimal fuss, so she asked, interesting. Did he mention anything else regarding Gato and what their plans are? Her supply of dango was running low, so she wanted to return to Konoha as quickly as possible, dangerously low. As Naruto eyed the training Team 7, he said, nope. I acted as if I didn't know his secret. I just treated him like a civilian and nothing else. If you want, I can open up negotiations next time we meet back in the forest. Sakura's punch cracked a tree. Naruto noticed that Anko's voice carried a hint of pride. Your call, Gaki. You're good enough that I don't need to hold your hand and tell you everything you need to do. You're a good shinobi, so I expect you to handle it professionally if push comes to shove. You have my blessing. If you can bring them to our side without bloodshed, then have it. Naruto then turned back to Team 7 and said, thanks sensei. I'll do my best. What are they doing anyway? Sparring again. She shrugged, unimpressed by the one-eyed Junin's management of his team. Yeah. Their training was pitiful in comparison to that of Naruto and herself. Kakashi gave them some advice in using their chakra as a means to augment their strength. From the looks of it, only Sakura have the control necessary to use the technique. The Uchiha is too impatient and prefers jutsus, while Sai is trying his best to get it done with little luck. As you can see, the result isn't all that flattering. Naruto undoubtedly took note of the surroundings. A significant amount of property damage should result from Team 7's success. As of right now, the only unusual feature is a fissure running the length of the largest tree's trunk, which served as Sakura's punching bag. In an eager attempt to test his theories, Naruto said, not much luck, huh? You think I should give it a try, sensei? Anko nodded and gave the blonde her permission, saying, give it a go, Gaki. I'll just observe you from here. She wanted to know what would happen to Naruto if he used chakra in his attacks. He was already using his ancestry to strengthen his bones and muscles, but those were passive. If her apprentice actively used chakra in addition to his strength, she wanted to know how strong he was. Since he was already strong, almost as strong as Tsunade, it would be a huge advantage. An excited Naruto got up and walked over to a vacant area where he could quietly test out his ideas. Great, he said, I'll just try out some of the stuff I thought up there on the other side of the clearing so I don't get in their way. Naruto immediately shut his eyes and concentrated on the chakra coursing through his coils after setting up shop a fair distance away from the team's 7 members who were practicing. Like the other day, he saw a lot of chakra flowing through his coils like molten lava, with very little going to his muscles and bones, which increased his strength. But since he had learned that it was a component of his bloodline schematics, he dismissed it. But this time, he concentrated on putting more chakra into his limbs to see what would happen. Immediately, he experienced a sensation of euphoria as his muscles hardened and bulged, making him feel stronger and lighter than before. He opened his eyes and decided to give it a try. After making sure that the chakra was reaching his muscles and bones correctly, he punched the tree in front of him hard, and the outcome was impressive. Half of the solid body, as if it were composed of cotton, was smashed to pieces by his fist. Naruto decided in a moment to simply level the tree since it was about to fall due to a lack of support, and falling in the direction it was leaning would undoubtedly cause damage to Tazuna's house. About halfway up to the tree, he jumped, channeling chakra to his legs and using all of his strength to kick and twist his body. There was no hope for the tree. A deafening crash reverberated around him as the already weakened trunk gave way and blasted the tree towards the forest. After landing, Naruto surveyed the destruction he had wrought with a single kick and punch. Startled by the outcome, he turned to see Anko, Kakashi, and Team 7 staring at him as though he had grown larger. Not understanding why they were staring at him in shock, awe, and disbelief, Naruto exclaimed, "What? What do you mean, what?" Anko yelled as she shot straight for him. "You just kicked that tree and it flew as if it was made of paper. What did you do, Gaki?" Naruto gave a shrug. "I noticed that I am subconsciously channeling chakra to my muscles and increased the amount. I was shocked with the result when my punch almost destroyed the tree. When I saw that it was about to fall down towards Tazuna's house, I had to do something to avoid destroying our host's residence, so I channeled chakra to my legs, jumped, then kicked the leaning trunk towards the forest. As you can see, it worked." The blonde replied as if his actions were something to be ashamed of. Incredulous, Anko shook her head. Superhuman strength cannot be obtained by simply channeling chakra to increase muscle power, but Naruto accomplished the impossible by doing just that. "You know, Gaki, channeling chakra to your muscles amplifies your strength only by a minuscule amount. Even Tsunade doesn't have that much strength to begin with, and that's her special technique. Hers involve releasing bursts of chakra to her muscles and fist, as well as putting large amount of chakra in a single tenketsu and releasing it upon impact, thus increasing the external damage. What you did was pure strength amplification. How much chakra did you channel, by the way?" Naruto directed the amount of chakra he released into his muscles toward his fist, causing it to glow a vivid blue, and showed it to Anko, who was staring at it incredulously. I'm not really sure. Let me see if I can show you." Too much?" Anko gave her pupil a crazy look. "You're kidding, right? That's a third of my chakra reserves, Gaki. With that amount of chakra, I think I can summon Manda twice with more to spare for a third." Observing his glowing fist, Naruto thought, "Interesting, I wonder." He noticed a big boulder to his left as he looked around. Grinning at Anko, he approached it, gathered his strength, and then punched it with the same ferocity he used on the tree. The rock exploded as though 10 or more explosive tags had detonated it. To everyone's surprise, dust was floating around the clearing and pebbles were raining. Naruto grinned cheekily and said, "Well, I guess that worked." However, an enraged Anko slammed him across the head. Haku didn't appear until the following day, but Naruto met him while training in the clearing. Since the Konoha group anticipated the battle to take place in 3 days, when Zabuza should be at his strongest, they were cutting things a little too close. When Haku came into the clearing, he was already dancing through the katas of a dual sword style. As soon as Naruto sensed him entering his training area, he paused to smile at Zabuza's apprentice. Naruto merged Kenotsuki once more and laid it on his back, saying, "Haku, nice to see you again." Haku returned the greeting. "Hello, Naruto." He eyed Naruto's sweaty face and remarked, "Practicing hard, I see." Naruto laughed and said, "Yeah. Have to keep improving, you know. So, how are you? Hope those medical herbs we picked helped you out." "They did. My uncle is healing quite nicely thanks to those herbs you helped me with. I hope I didn't disturb your training. If I am, I can always come back later or tomorrow if you like," Haku said in a voice of worry. Naruto simply dismissed the worry with a wave. "Nah, you didn't disturb me at all. Besides, I was hoping you'd come and visit since I have something to you." A curious Haku said, "Oh, what do you want to talk to me about?" Naruto inquired inquisitively, "Before I get to that, how's Zabuza's recovery coming along?" Haku leapt back instantly and pulled a senbon out of his robe. When Naruto saw what was happening, he instantly raised both hands to warn Haku not to attack. In the hopes that it would reach Haku before things turn violent, Naruto stated bluntly, "Easy now, Haku. I'm not here to attack or ambush you. I just want to talk to you about something." After giving the blonde a nervous look, Haku lowered his weapon when he noticed that Naruto was at ease and not threatening him. Inquiringly, "What do you want to talk about?" Haku asked. Even though he may have lowered his stance, he was still keeping his weapon handy. The blonde werewolf said, "I just wanted to ask if you and your master are interested in sitting this one out." Haku gave a headshake. "No, I don't think that's possible, Naruto. We're under contract with Gato and I don't think your word alone is enough to let us renege on the deal." Haku breathed a sigh of relief. Despite their brief encounter, he saw the blonde as a friend and didn't really want to argue with him, but he would comply with his master's orders. Naruto grinned and nodded. "What if I tell you that Gato had no intentions of paying you and planning to double-cross your master after he gets rid of Tazuna?" Haku was somewhat taken aback. Haku's voice was cold as he demanded, "What do you mean?" It did not sit well with him to be betrayed. He was an ardent opponent of betrayal. The dark-haired teenager grudgingly followed Naruto's instructions to sit down and beckon him to do the same, but he kept his lone senbon handy just in case. "2 days after we got here, me and my sensei infiltrated Gato's hideout and staked the place out. We overheard your conversation with Zabuza and your confrontation with Gato. Eventually, we followed your employer along with his 2 bodyguards and listened in on their conversation, which involved double-crossing your master once the bridge builder is killed. That is the reason why I know who you were when you appeared in this clearing, despite the fact that you had your mask on when you saved Zabuza during our first encounter," explained Naruto with a sly grin. Haku was taken aback by this. Haku said incredulously, "It's impossible. I can sense chakra along with Zabuza-sama, and I didn't even sense you. They couldn't have gotten in without being noticed. It was not even possible to consider." Naruto enticed the boy by adding, "We all have our own secrets and techniques, Haku. Who knows, you might learn of them later. But I'm telling you the truth. Gato is planning to betray you and your master regardless whether you fulfill your mission or not." Haku, who trusted the blonde with the revelation, asked suspiciously, "If that is the case, what you are proposing?" He never let his guard down around the midget because he always knew that Gato was untrustworthy. "Wait a minute. Don't tell me it was you who stole Gato's weapon stockpile?" Naruto cheerfully confirmed, "Yep. Nah, it was my sensei that did it since I was at the edge of the camp, distracting the guards." Haku grinned at Naruto. "Just so you know, Gato was furious that all the weapons he stockpiled to bring down Tazuna disappeared. He even had a few of the guards killed because of that. Anyway, what are you proposing?" Without hesitation, Naruto said, "What if I offer you and Zabuza a parley and a position as shinobi of Konoha?" Before Haku arrived, he was practicing his katas when he thought of this offer, and it was a smart move as always. "What?" cried Haku, startled. Missing nins could not be taken in by a large village. Given the position that Zabuza held prior to becoming a missing nin, Kiri Mist would never consent to integrating 2 of them into Konoha's ranks in order to increase their military might because of established protocols that discourage such an act. "Even if we do decide to take up your offer, Naruto, I don't think you have the power to grant us amnesty." Naruto simply grinned at the shinobi brandishing the ice. "You'd be surprised what I can do, Haku. Tell you what, if I can give you a direct missive from the Hokage about the offer, will you take it?" Haku paused for a moment before responding, "I'm not sure. I need to discuss this with Zabuza first and let him decide. But if you can give me the documents right now, I'll show it to Zabuza-sama and I'll try to convince him. Being a missing nin is a hard life and I don't want to go through it anymore if there's a better offer out there for us," Haku said with a solemn tone. To be honest, he was sick of constantly checking behind him in case a hunter nin was pursuing them. For fear of being cornered and killed, they never stayed in one place for too long. They welcomed any offer that would help them escape such a life. Naruto gave a nod. "Good. I can send the request right now if you want and we can wait for the papers to arrive before you bring it to Zabuza to read." Haku gave him a perplexed look. "How in the world are you going to do that? I doubt you have the documents with you right now and I know there is no way for you to go to Konoha and back that fast." With a sly smile, Naruto bit his thumb and proceeded to summon the seals. His hand slammed to the floor. Kachiyose no Jutsu. A tiny 2-tailed wolf emerged between the two after a puff of smoke. Haku instantly leapt from his position, keeping his senbon ready. as soon as he saw Naruto go through hand seals. To his astonishment, a wolf materialized before the blonde. Not just any wolf, but a two-tailed wolf, which was impossible because bijus were defined as animals with more than one tail. Furthermore, the biju with two tails was a cat, not a wolf. Dazed, Haku said, "You have a summoning contract?" He had never heard of a wolf contract before, and summoning contracts were uncommon. Naruto cheerfully answered, "Yep. I got the wolves on my side because of my clan, but that's a story for another time." He looked over at the wolf. "Can you take a message to the Hokage for me?" The wolf said in a respectful tone, "Of course, Naruto-sama." Naruto nodded and gave the wolf, who was paying close attention, an explanation of the situation. The wolf finally spoke after a few minutes. "I take it you want me to wait for a reply and bring it back?" Naruto questioned the messenger wolf. "Yes. Is that possible for you?" "No problem. Now if you'll excuse me, I better get going." The wolf leapt right away and vanished through a shadow beneath a tree. Haku was taken aback because he had no idea how the wolf had left the clearing. When the wolf left the clearing, a bewildered Haku relaxed his stance and asked, "What was that all about?" "Oh, that was a messenger wolf of the Moon Wolf clan. He can travel anywhere as long as there's a shadow for him to travel through. If I guess right, he should be in Konoha right now with the Hokage, so why don't we wait for a while until he comes back, huh?" Naruto suggested, and Haku nodded in agreement. Before a wolf leapt out of his desk, the shadows in front of it merged into a solid mass, interrupting the Sandaime Hokage's current meeting with the Shinobi Council to discuss the barrier team's progress. The whole Konoha Council was taken aback by the unexpected appearance of a wolf, who was on the verge of attacking when the Sandaime's voice stopped them. Before facing the wolf, the elderly Hokage told the council, "Stop, the wolf is not hostile. What can I do for you, Okami-san?" The wolf summoned, "Are you the Sandaime Hokage?" Since this was the first time they had heard a wolf speak, everyone in the council chamber tensed. Well, everyone except Sume, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and the Hokage, who were already aware of Naruto's agreement with the Moon Wolf tribe. Sarutobi replied, "Yes, I am. Do you bring a message from Naruto?" It was the first time he used his summon, and Naruto rarely sent him a message. "Indeed. It is not a written message since he lacked the supplies to do so, but he asked me to inform you if it is possible to bring back a missing nin and his apprentice to be part of the Konoha shinobi force." Everyone in the council chamber was taken aback by this. Did Naruto encounter a missing nin? Who? Where? How? Even though he had some faith in the individuals present, the Hokage trained his features to avoid appearing weak. He made the decision to ask the messenger for more details. "Can you explain to me what happened?" After giving a nod, the wolf shared what Naruto had told him with the rest of the room. The whole shinobi council eventually grasped the main idea, though it took some time. The Hokage turned and spoke to the astonished and interested council. "Well, you got the story. Any ideas?" He trusted Naruto with his life and already knew what to do, but he needed to make sure he followed the rules to prevent issues later. Sume continued to eye the wolf curiously and said, "It's an interesting tale, Hokage-sama, but will this cause us problems with Kiri?" Shikaku gave a headshake. "I don't think so. Kiri is busy with their bloodline war for years now, and I don't think drafting a missing nin to Konoha will spark their ire. After all, their armies are being diverted to settle internal conflicts, and I don't think they have enough to match our forces with the current turmoil plaguing their ranks," stated the Nara strategist. Shikaku is correct. This might cause a few raised eyebrows from other hidden villages, but I don't think it will cause a negative reaction no matter how notorious Zabuza's reputation is at the moment. So let's put this to a vote. Who wants to go ahead with Naruto's plan to bring Zabuza to Konoha? Everyone applauded the idea since it would significantly strengthen the village's defenses, especially in light of the impending storm, to have one of the renowned swordsmen of the mist in their ranks. The votes have it. Zabuza will be inducted into the Konoha ranks after he passes a thorough evaluation from Anko and Ibiki, as well as having his mind scanned by Inoichi for possible treason. I'll draft the letter right now and send it along to Naruto. Keep in mind that this is purely an invitation, not an actual drafting into the ranks. I trust Naruto with my life, but it is best to give Zabuza and his apprentice the benefit of a doubt, don't you agree? Everybody gave a nod. Taking a blank scroll from his table, the Hokage quickly composed an invitation for Zabuza and his apprentice. He gave the scroll to the wolf, who accepted it, bowed, and fled across the room to a dark corner before vanishing. Sarutobi simply stared at the alcove where Naruto's wolf messenger vanished, shrugged, and then called the council's attention before returning to their conversation as it had been going. Naruto received a response from the Hokage about his proposal quickly, and to his delight, the council approved it after giving it a favorable review. Naruto left the clearing and went back to Tazuna's house to tell Anko what had happened after giving Haku the documents and receiving a guarantee that he would communicate with him in some way about their choice. When Naruto got to Tazuna's house, he noticed that Anko and Kakashi were with Tazuna on the bridge, and Team 7 was on guard duty. At the moment, Team 7 was practicing in a clearing behind the house. Specifically, they were practicing in a way where Sai and Sasuke were trying to outdo each other while Sakura supported the Uchiha. Naruto sighed at this. Given that their sensei was teaching them and was extremely indolent, he was beginning to doubt their maturity. Everyone's attention was drawn to Naruto when he said, "Yo, training hard?" While avoiding Sai's axe kick, Sasuke growled, "What are you doing here, Dobi?" and counterattacked with a punch that the stoic genin could easily sidestep. Naruto gave a shrug. "I was looking for Anko-sensei since I got a report to give her, but Tsunami-san told me that she was with Tazuna-san on guard duty. I came around the house when I heard you training," replied the brunette. "Just out of curiosity, what are you guys training in anyway, and why isn't Sakura joining?" Sakura interrupted with a response. "Kakashi-sensei told us to practice applying our chakra during spars since that would help fine-tune our control. I already sparred with Sai earlier and now it's his turn with Sasuke-kun." She concluded with a sigh that was dreamy. After giving a nod, Naruto settled down next to the genin with the pink hair. He asked the pinkette, "You wouldn't mind if I watched, do you?" And she simply shrugged without responding. After a further 10 minutes of fighting, Sasuke emerged victorious after knocking Sai out cold with a chakra-enhanced punch to the stomach. The quantity of chakra that the Uchiha used on his fist astounded Naruto. Naruto eyed the gasping Sai and remarked, "Great hit there, Sasuke. That was a lot of chakra." Sasuke only replied, "HNNN." Just as he turned to leave the clearing, he stopped and gave Naruto a quick glance. "Fight me, Dobi." Naruto was taken by surprise by this. "Huh?" Sasuke argued. "Fight me, are you deaf?" Naruto gave a shrug. "Sure, but don't you think you should rest first before the spar? I mean, you just finished with Sai here and I doubt you're at full strength." Sasuke brushed the worry aside, saying, "Doesn't matter. I don't need to be at my full power just to defeat you." Naruto chose to make fun of the conceited boy. "If you can defeat me that easily, then why in the world do you still want to fight if your victory is already assured?" Despite the Uchiha's shortcoming, they responded, "I know I can defeat you, Dobi, but my victory will be complete if I show everyone proof that I can do so." After giving a nod, Naruto got up and patted his back to remove some grass from his trousers. "Well, if that is the case, then I have no problem sparring with you. Any rules?" "Rules?" a perplexed Sasuke inquired. Naruto gave a nod. "Sparring between shinobi always have rules. For example, do you want it to be a taijutsu-only match or is ninjutsu allowed? What is the condition for winning? Those rules." After giving it some thought and nodding, Sasuke's face lit up with a smile. "Taijutsu and ninjutsu. Let's treat this as a real battle. Loser is the one who loses consciousness or incapacitated. Agree?" Naruto shrugged and remarked, "Well, a little gory for a straightforward spar, but whatever suits you, I suppose." He stabbed Kenotsuki on the ground after removing it from his back. He had already completed his warm-ups in the forest before he paused to speak with Haku, so he didn't need to do them again. He moved to the center of the makeshift training area and grinned at the Uchiha. "Let's begin, Sasuke."
So this was the end of the series. I hope you enjoyed it. To watch more series like this, subscribe to my channel. Till then, we weeb offline.